All right, thank you everybody for coming. The first thing I want to do is introduce myself. Dean Dahl gave me slack last night at the Dean's Business Council for not introducing myself when I asked a question. So the first thing I want to do is say that I'm Steve Heiss. I'm a 13, this was kind of like my brainchild. About a year and a half ago, I was studying abroad, and I was trying to figure out what all the cool things all the honor students were doing. And I realized that within my own class, I kind of had an idea, but outside of my class, I didn't. And so I wanted to somehow form an event where I could really figure out all the cool things that the honors program is doing, and more specifically what they're doing to achieve the mission of making the College of Business better. So that's the purpose of tonight. It's to share everybody's experiences, the diversity of their experiences, what they've done on campus, what they've done around the world, and I hope that you all get that out of tonight. So we're going to begin pretty quickly. I'm going to introduce Paul Ripsky. Paul's a graduate, and so this is it's good to have alumni coming down for the conference. That was actually a big part of tonight, is getting alumni to share their wisdom and what they've done as well. So I'll now hand it off to Paul.
All right, it works. Hello, my name is Paul Ripsky, and as Steve said, I am a graduate, more specifically, of the class of '09. So I was the second honors class. And when I was first contacted about the opportunity to speak before you all, I was told to share a bit about myself, which is great for me because I really like talking about myself, but it's also great for you because I was told I only have 6 minutes. So here we go. This evening, I'd like to share a little bit about my college experience, life after graduation, and how the honors program fits into it all. So let's start with a little bit about my college experience. In addition to the honors program, there were 3 main components that shaped my college career. The first, of course, was academics. In addition to mastering Sudoku during all my lectures, I graduated with degrees in finance and accounting. But as you know, there's more to the College of Business than just earning credits towards your degree. Actual business experience is just as important as attending almost every business class. Luckily, the honors program was able to help me out in this area. So towards the end of my junior year, a lot of my friends had internships at pretty prestigious firms, PwC, Deloitte, Houlihan Lokey, etc. Further, a lot of these internships had guaranteed full-time positions upon graduation the next year. So not only did my friends have internships, they were set for life. And here I was without anything lined up, and further, I really put off applying for jobs, so I actually hadn't applied anywhere. So while I didn't explicitly tell Dean Hedman of my procrastination, I said that I was actively seeking an internship for the summer. As it turns out, Dean Hedman was soon contacted by the head of Mesero Financial's investment banking division, asking if there are any students he should be looking at before they make a final decision. So Dean Hedman put my name at the top of that list. In the course of 2 days, I had a phone interview, an in-office interview, and a callback saying that I had been hired. So while I'd like to think that my polished resume and flawless interviews won me the job, I don't discredit the power of that recommendation. The 2 other facets of my college career were my fraternity and the Ultimate Frisbee Club. Involving yourself in an organization is one of the best ways to demonstrate and test your leadership ability. But you need to be involved. Don't let your fraternity, sorority, or club just take up space at the bottom of your resume. And even if you don't have a titled leadership position like president or treasurer, there are plenty of opportunities to take initiative and contribute to meaningful accomplishments while you're still in school. When you truly involve yourself, such clubs and organizations can lead to lifelong friendships and abilities, which I believe are some of the most important things you can take with you after you graduate. So what about after college? Today, I work as an auditor for the CME Group, which some of you may better know as the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, the Chicago Board of Trade, and for extra credit, the NYMEX and COMEX futures exchanges in New York. Some notable points in my yet short 3-year career include earning my CPA, working as a lead auditor in only my 2nd year, and organizing the annual flag football tournament between the staff and the managers. Hey, career advancement is about doing more than just what you're hired to do, which leads me to my most important point. It may be a remote thought in your mind as you stress about your next Econ 202 exam or your next on-campus interview. You should take time to think about the other goals in life that you may or may not have. Maybe your family, maybe vacations, relationships, marriage, and did I mention family? Some of you might not even think that such things count as accomplishments, but they do count, because these things shape who you are so much more than any fancy title or position at a top corporation. So what can I tell you about life after college? Life after the honors program? First of all, college and the honors program stick with you. They will track you down and get you to make speeches in front of other students and young alumni. But the main lesson I've learned about being in the quote-unquote real world is that you need to have something that makes it worth it. Whether you love your job or hate your job, you need to have something that makes you want to wake up every morning. Something that you have to look forward to when you're not working. If you don't have that something just quite yet, don't panic. There's no need to rush out, take sailing lessons, pottery classes, or pilot school. And believe me, there is no need to rush out and start a family. Although I'd like to point out I was not the first honors graduate to do so. But definitely find something that makes it worth it. So let me wrap up my presentation by bringing it back to the honors program. As you all know, this is a leadership program, and leadership can be learned. As most of you know, you are part of this program because the deans and admission staff saw something in your application that showed leadership. We are accustomed to being highly motivated and involved persons that will take the lead on anything and everything, sometimes when it's not even warranted. But you might not know that the deans and admission staffs also saw potential. They saw the potential that you could learn to be a better leader than you are today. Leadership comes in many forms, and it doesn't always have an effect on careers. This program gives you the tools to be a better leader. Take every opportunity to learn how to be a better leader in your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speaker is going to be Ben Miller. Ben's a 13, and he's going to talk about SIFE. And a recent Lincoln laureate.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Steve. I didn't know I had to follow the baby pictures, so unfortunately my children will not be in this presentation. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about SIFE, but I'd like not to focus on SIFE specifically, kind of how that ties into all the organizations you guys are a part of. So as Steve mentioned, my name is Ben Miller. I'm a 13. I'm a senior in supply chain management and ISIT. And our business honors trip was to Turkey, which I think the class 2 years younger also went to Turkey. So what is SIFE? SIFE is an international business organization. We have a chapter on campus, and really we focus on applying entrepreneurship to real-world problems. So I guess the tagline they always use is entrepreneurship in action. And so our focus is creating like these sustainable long-term impacts with the people we work with. And so we have both local and abroad people that we work with. And I just kind of a history of kind of where SIFE came from, where we are now. So my freshman year, 2009, we had 8 members in 2 projects. We were a very, very small organization. There's really no structure in terms of organization, no standardization, formalization. There was no recruitment process. There was really nothing in place to source new projects and kind of make this a sustainable organization. So I guess looking 3 years later, SIFE has come a long ways. We now have 60 members. We have 8 projects. 3 of those projects are international. And we have now 2 rounds of recruitment, including a case interview, new organizational structure. There's been a lot of work that's went into creating SIFE, making this more of a sustainable organization within the College of Business. So as we kind of put work into this over the past 3 years and kind of had a vision for where we wanted to go, there was a few key lessons that I learned I'd like to kind of share with you guys. The first was, as you kind of lead this growth, it's not easy. So change is hard. People always resist it. But it's always important to kind of have that vision at the end and kind of understand how each action that you make kind of affects that vision. So you have to kind of have a good balance between kind of managing the change as well as delegating the change to other people. So, I mean, I did not do this alone. There's an awesome team of exec board members that kind of helped me along the way. And now SIFE has 3 business honors people on their exec board. So good business honors. So kind of whenever we were looking at how can we make SIFE more sustainable, kind of what steps we have to take, we knew that we had to add a more international component to SIFE. So one of the big initiatives that I helped lead was to create a study abroad trip for the College of Business going to Uganda, Africa. So this past May, we, 5 SIFE students were able to go to Uganda and teach for 2 weeks, which was an absolutely amazing experience. So there were 5 SIFE students that throughout the whole year were focused on creating this business curriculum focused around financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and marketplace literacy. And they kind of took this curriculum and actually taught it to small business owners and farmers in Kapeka, Uganda. So this is kind of, I guess, benefiting 2 ways. One, it benefited SIFE because people knew about SIFE. This is creating value to the rest of the College of Business because now, this coming May, there's 10 spots for students to go back to Uganda and kind of redo what we did and make it better. It also benefited the students because Uganda was such an amazing experience. We were working directly with people who, most of which didn't have anything above a 5th grade education. And so it's kind of cool to see all the stuff that we take for granted and kind of teach it in every way we could to the people. So we were able to stay at a school, so we interacted with the children at the school. It was just an amazing experience. So it's just kind of some of the pictures. So actually, every student that went to Uganda now sponsors a child from the. So basically, we pay for the school, food, water, books, and all their education. So there's definitely value added in that sense as well. So from this trip, we kind of had some key takeaways, I guess, of what went well, what we'd change for next year, and kind of the big takeaways and objectives from the trip. So as we kind of look at this, we're hoping to kind of change the scope for next year's trip with different SIFE students. And I won't kind of go through all of these, but I think just general improvements with the curriculum can be done. And obviously, kind of going back now, I'll be able to teach kind of the culture and kind of, we didn't really have anything to base off of this year. So next year, now that I understand what the culture is like, kind of what the interactions with people are like, we'll be able to teach the students going next year. So I guess kind of tying this all back together, kind of SIFE has come a very long way over the past 3 years, and I think I attribute a lot of it to this Uganda trip. Obviously, there's been a lot of different projects, but this has really been the big project that kind of put SIFE on the College of Business kind of mindset. And I guess to finish up, I think we kind of need everything we can against IU tomorrow. So this is from Uganda. Okay.
Very good.
Yeah, so I don't think they actually knew what they were saying, but it still was pretty cool. So, all right, thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Ben. Next. Switch right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next, we're going to have Michael Lyons and Mike Labelle talk about global pedals.
Oops. Sorry. Is that on? We good? Good. Well, first off, I'd just like to start off and say thanks to Dean Dahl and to the honor students, especially, I know Steve Heiss, it seems like has just been a maniac here getting this thing going. He's done a great job. So thanks, Steve, and also acknowledge that Dean Hedman, great to have you back and see in the audience. My name is Mike Labelle. I'm from the inaugural class from 2008. And in thinking about what I wanted to share with the group today, I came across what I thought was an interesting quote that relates to how we all think about opportunity. And this was from Sheryl Sandberg speaking to a group of Harvard business students. Not the biggest fan of Facebook, but this one really resonated with me. She said, get on a rocket ship. When companies are growing quickly and they're having a lot of impact, careers often take care of themselves. And when companies aren't growing quickly or their missions don't matter all that much, that's when politics comes in. If you're offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask what seat, just get on. So, the way I thought about this is, while being proficient at your job is something that's important, it struck me that the path that you choose is often equally, or if not as important, in affecting the outcome of your career. And I've seen some statistics lately. According to Forbes, 70 to 80% of people in the workforce hate their jobs. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average worker switches jobs every 4 years, and for our generation, it's as quickly as 3 years. So you could very well have 15 jobs during the course of your life. So it's clear that people are constantly evaluating different opportunities out there. So I guess the question becomes, how do we find the right ones, or know that we're even choosing good ones? Simplistically, I tend to think of the world in kind of two general paths. You have sort of this traditional route where you have big accounting or investment banking and consulting, a lot of those paths that a lot of us are probably pretty familiar with. And then alternatively, you have some more of the, what I'd call outside of the box opportunities. Startups would be an obvious example. Working outside of your field, international work, or the ability to work with a thought leader. And my guess would be that this room would lean probably more towards the traditional route. And the point is not to discourage people from taking that path, but more so to think about how we assess those types of opportunities. And, some of the questions I would pose are, what's the industry that we're going into? What's the outlook? Are we building transferable skills? What's our level of engagement? Are we really owning the work that we're doing? And lastly, how you perform your job matters. But in those types of environments, I would say that perception and likability and relationships really, they matter. So, I think the traditional routes are well defined, but they pose their own set of challenges and opportunities. Up here are some of the companies that I've interned and worked with. And, I definitely haven't found my rocket ship. So, I'm looking for it. I'll be over in the corner afterwards if you have the solution for me. But in addition to the jobs that I've done, I've certainly tried to find opportunities in things like startups and other groups, and that's where somebody like Michael Lyons comes in. I think, and I'll introduce him momentarily, but no matter what route you pursue, I think that there's definitely consistent elements that contribute to a positive trajectory. Definitely seeking or taking initiative for your own personal development. I think we can often take for granted the infrastructure that's kind of down here in Champaign, and it's great, but you have to really go do that on your own when you're out in the working world, identifying problems and providing solutions. No matter what environment you're in, I think you want to be a person that is able to be thinking outside the box and putting forth good ideas for the people you're around. I think, finding what you're passionate about or what you're interested in is certainly, in my view, excellence is where passion and competency meet. And lastly, relationships. The relationships you build are absolutely critical, and genuine, authentic relationships. Finding people that you connect with. With Michael, just briefly, I don't know how many of you guys remember the people that you interviewed with in Chicago, but I actually interviewed Michael Lyons, and I think at the end of the interview, I shook his hand, and it's one of those, hey, here's my info. Feel free to reach out to me. And, he was one of the guys that did. So I'll bring him up here now to talk. Michael Lyons from the class of 2013.
So my goal, kind of apologize ahead of time, is to hopefully skew some of your perceptions when you're going on your job search and hopefully make it a little more complicated or maybe a little more simple. What Mike's path was, you might see as more traditional inside the box, and you might see it as a little more risky, or you see more risk-free, while I'll probably be pursuing a little more risky path, but because it's outside of the box. But first, I think you have to define what risk is. And I'd see risk as something that you actually have tangible that you're going to lose. So for some of you in this room that will be coming out of here with little to no debt, who are going to be covered underneath your parents' health insurance till you're 26, and that also have a pretty supportive family environment, how much do you really have to lose? This is a question that Dean Hedman posed to me last year, and it really, brought some perspective in terms of what do I want to do. And then, if all else fails, is it really a high probability that, business honors student who's probably James Scholar with a great GPA, who is a leader of SIFE and every other organization on campus, is going to go away and not get a job? Slim chance. So I'm not saying that you should go out and do something crazy or outside the box because I'm telling you to do so. I'm saying that you should put your goals first and help that drive your job search instead of searching for the job and then defining your goals based on that. So for example, my goals, I wanted to have an international career early on. I wanted to be able to use my Spanish. I wanted to be able to have an impact. I wanted to be able to interact with political individuals and create connections across borders and do some of the sexy finance, venture capital, raising money, all that. And, I've been doing that. I've been getting introduced to it. I'm going to be doing more of it. It's going to be fun. But the main reason is that I wanted to do that. I wanted to do the goals. And I've pursued a career or a path that allowed me to do that. So I would just encourage you to first define your goals and then your reasons for that, and then go and find that job search.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, I think a lot of times, when we're conducting our process, sometimes we're blinded to the fact that maybe we're limiting the scope of the opportunities that we're really looking at. So I would just encourage you guys to really look outside the box on that front and really consider the reasons that you're pursuing the path that you are, and asking yourself if it really fits the purposes and the goals that you're going after. And lastly, I think just being ready to identify when those big opportunities arise and being able to jump on it and find your rocket ship. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Next up is Nisa. Nisa actually wasn't able to come down, but I tracked her down in Chicago and actually recorded a video, and so she has a couple things to say to the honors program.
My name is Nisa Agrawal, and I was in the class of 2008. So I worked at PwC for the past 4 years in our assurance practice, and I recently left, and I will be getting my MBA full-time at the Kellogg School of Management. I think the honors program gave me a lot of opportunities to just meet a lot of wonderful people that helped me grow as a leader and as a professional. I still definitely keep in touch with a lot of my cohorts, and Dean Hedman was definitely a great resource for me too. Whenever I needed advice, he was the person I ran to. He offered, just suggestions all the time, even when I was applying to business school. So just the network I developed through the honors program really helped me out. I can't think of one specific story. Dean Hedman has just always been there for me. Even when I was at PwC, whenever I decided to come down to campus, he would invite me over. Mrs. Hedman would make chocolate sauce, and it would just be a great time. I think the honors program has done a lot of great stuff. Just the fact that we all have special projects we have to do. Our class worked on an honor code for the college, and I think that the thing that I really appreciated about the College of Business Honors Program was people didn't necessarily know we were in the honors program, and so when we asked our classmates for help, they were willing to help because they saw the potential to help the college as a whole. One specific example with my class was with the Legacy senior class gift. Kelly Maynard and I were the leaders of our year, and we got our class to help us out in raising money for a scholarship in addition to our class gift. So it was honor students that were trying to make a difference within the college, and I thought that that was a great showing. It means everything to me. There were definitely times that I would get very overwhelmed with work and things would just be very stressful, and I would just remember it was important to be energetic, enthusiastic, and optimistic about what I had in front of me. And I definitely think just having that positive attitude helped me achieve a lot at PwC, and I think it also helped me when I was just really stressed out about stuff. It just gave me a different perspective and made me think holistically that if I'm positive, then I'll get the results, and I just have to remember that. I think it's great, first of all, that we're doing this. It's really important for people to see the impact that the College of Business Honors Program has, and I think it's a great networking tool. I don't know if people really understand the importance of networking, but just being out of school for 4 years now, I definitely see the value of just the groups that I've met, in college and then at PwC. And I think it's really important to just stay connected to, who you are and where you started. And I think that we have some insight that we can share with the younger classmen to help them as they are making their decisions as well. I would say just take advantage of everything and just don't worry about how you think you should be, like what you should be doing. Just do whatever your heart tells you to do, and you just have to be really comfortable with yourself. Make sure that you have an interesting story to tell, because I think that that'll help you throughout, recruiting process, but also just making sure that you're happy with everything that you achieved at school. That's ultimately why you're in college, to make those friends and, have a great time, but also see what's going to help you for the future. Dean Hederman, miss you so much. Thank you so much for everything. I hope you're loving life in Kansas, and I can't wait to visit soon.
Next, I want to introduce Jordy McNamara. I have no idea what Jordy's going to talk about, which is Jordy.
Thanks, Steve. All right, so this work. All right, hi everybody. My name is Jordy McNamara. I'm a senior in the honors program, and today I want to talk a little bit about something that I think impacts a lot of people in this room, because I think a lot of people are somewhat like me in the sense that you're not interested in really doing something that's been done before. You want to create. You want to do something, new. You want to build something out of nothing. And I think furthermore, you take it and you have ideas. We have ideas to back up that mindset. We have all these resources around us. I mean, look at the people in this room. It's as simple sometimes as leveraging the resources of the people around you in order to actually follow through and accomplish, your goals and really reach success in your ideas. But I realized that a lot of times you hear all these really good ideas, and then all of a sudden there's not this follow through that you want. Sometimes, you have an idea, but you don't actually make it happen. And so I kind of wondered why that was, why somebody maybe would have an idea but not actually see it through to the end. And I started to realize that I think people start thinking about all the different things that need to happen in order to reach success. And it's kind of intimidating, because you start thinking about how many things need to get done, how long it'll take, all the different skills you'll need, the different people that you'll need. And it's chaos. Because it seems like everything's a different shape, a different size. It just doesn't really fit together, okay? And what I wanted to do today is I wanted to challenge everybody here to embrace that chaos. I think sometimes that chaos sometimes serves as a barrier to success, and people start thinking, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea anymore. And I want to use an example of something that I've gone throughout my college experience as kind of an example of how everything can play out if you do embrace that chaos. So I don't have slides or anything. I don't like PowerPoints. But when in the fall of my sophomore year, I started an organization on campus. That organization, many of you in this room are involved in. Actually, I'm proud to say we do have a significant honors presence in SCNO. SCNO stands for Students Consulting for Nonprofit Organizations. We're a student-run consulting organization that provides pro bono consulting services to nonprofit organizations. And really, it's a resource that you can't really, these nonprofit organizations, they really need it, but they can't find this resource for, anywhere else. When I was starting SCNO, there was a lot of chaos. I would go and I would try to talk to professors, leaders in the community, whoever it might be, and try to get their support. And almost unanimously, when I would talk to them, their response would be, Jordy, this is a great idea. I really like where your head's at, but people have tried this before and they weren't successful. Why do you think you'll be any different? And the truth is, I didn't have a good reason why it would be any different. I wasn't even sure that it would be, because I looked at everything that needed to get done, and it was chaos. I thought about what it would mean and what it would take in order to reach success, and it was intimidating. But what we started to do is we started to kind of pick apart that chaos. We looked at it and we started breaking it down into smaller pieces, and what we realized was that together it was chaos, but apart it was manageable. We stopped thinking about everything that needed to get done, and we actually just started doing it. And slowly, a clearer picture formed. And now just 2 years later, SCNO is an organization that has over 100 consultants involved, split between a management and a technology consulting practice that we launched this semester. We're working on our, we're working on our 42nd project in 5 semesters. We've had clients in Kenya. We're talking to some in London and other countries. And really, we're just starting to talk to more and more people about helping them reach their goals. Okay, and I really feel for one of the first times this semester, like everything's coming together. And SCNO is going to be a sustainable organization for the future. And that's exciting. And I think about what got us to this point, and I think it was that we embraced the chaos. We didn't let that get in the way of us actually going out and trying to accomplish something. We just stopped thinking about everything that needed to get done, and we just started doing it. And so that's what I wanted to leave you all here with today. I just wanted to say that I think people in here have a really unique opportunity to go out and, use the people around you, the resources, use the skills that we all have to accomplish something really good and make a difference and an impact in this community and, whatever community you live in the future. And just so embrace the chaos. Don't worry about everything that needs to get done because it will work out in the end. Thank you.
My turn. All right. So Wyatt came up to me while we were setting up today, and he goes, if something happens wrong with the technology today, at least you have this slide to work with. You jinxed my presentation. So what I'm about to share with you guys is some things that a lot of people know about me, some things that very few people know about me, including some of my best friends. But some of these things I'm going to own up to tonight, and because I can own up to them, it goes from a matter of shame and embarrassment to actually a matter of pride. I'm going to start with this. For 24 hours my freshman year, this was my GPA. I didn't do well on my final exams after the first semester. I was trying to figure out why. I came into college with a really high GPA, and I was trying to figure out why it happened. It turned out it was actually very easy to figure out why it happened. I didn't do too well on a lot of exams. One of those exams was CS 105, oddly enough, and I figured out that I could actually get some more credit on my final exam than I was given for it. So I went up to my professor and I said, I think I got this question right. This is why. He ended up giving me credit for the question. So I went from a 2.98 my first semester to a sterling 3.02. So that's where I started my freshman year, with the 3.02. And that was not a conversation I wanted to have with Dean Hedeman. As most of us know here, Dean Hedeman doesn't get mad. He just gets disappointed. And that is far worse than him yelling at me. Just Steve, you can do better than this. And 3 months after I had this GPA, I ended up helping my team win an Ernst & Young National Case Competition to win a $10,000 grant. One of 3 teams in both the United States and Canada to win this grant. So I'm sitting here wondering my second semester, what the heck is wrong with me? Because I get that GPA at the end of my first semester, but then I end up helping my team win a $10,000 grant, something that I'm still proud of today. So how do these two relate? So I'm going to fast forward to May 2010. This is a postcard that our community garden group printed to hand out in the neighborhood where we were going to build our garden. The goal was to get the neighborhood to a community meeting and the community center. And so we were canvassing this neighborhood, handing out these cards. Now this neighborhood is just 5 blocks north of Beckman Institute. It's not that far away from campus. And this is actually one of the poorest neighborhoods in one of the poorest counties in the state of Illinois. And to give you some perspective in what we were walking into, as I think it was actually Cameron and I, we were going up to one of the houses, and we turn a corner, and there are these couple kids no older than 8 or 9 years old. And they see Cameron and I, and they turn around running toward their mom saying, Mom, the white boys are coming. And this is something that I've never dealt with before. And I realized at this point that what I was getting myself into was something that was a lot harder than I had originally anticipated. But oddly enough, we actually got really good feedback from the neighbors. They loved our idea of a community garden, and they actually said that they'd show up at our meeting. So I want to fast forward to the night of the meeting, Wednesday, May 12th, 2010, and my partner Aaron and I are finishing setting up in the Douglas Park Community Center. Setting up the chairs, PowerPoint's ready, and we sit here waiting for everyone to start filing in. So does anybody have a guess on how many people showed up? 0. I'm sorry, I lied. 2 people. 2 people showed up, but they thought it was for a different meeting that was actually being held at the library. So 0 people showed up to our meeting. This was pretty disheartening, right? Because our goal is to help this community. Our goal is to make the lives of these families and kids better and healthier. And we hadn't even built our garden yet, but I had felt like I had already failed. But you see, I had actually learned something during that second semester that could help me get through this, right? Because I started with a 3.02. And I asked myself, you know, what's wrong? I can do better than this. I know I can do better than this. Dean Hedman knows I can do better than this. So what did I do? I doubled down. I studied harder than I'd ever had before. And what I ended up doing is I ended up turning my GPA from 3.02 to 3.58, right? That's 0.56 difference in one semester. Now, when nobody shows up to a community meeting that I organize, what do? I do the same thing that I did with my grade. I doubled down. This is our community garden today. 2 years after, nobody showed up to our first meeting. I like to prove the naysayers wrong that said we couldn't build this neighborhood, and the cynics that said that the neighborhood that you're going into is naturally distrusting of privileged white university students. Because at the end of the day, these kids up here don't really care who builds their garden. They just want to play in the dirt. That's it. So the most powerful lesson that I've learned is not how to avoid failure, because it's going to happen eventually, whether it's happening now in college or it's going to happen in your first career. The lesson, rather, that I learned is how and if you haven't failed in a safe environment, which I consider college to be a safe environment, what's going to happen when you are working for your full-time job and you fail for the first time? If you work your butt off in class and you get that 4.0, good for you. But I think that I've lived, you know, twice as much as you, because now I'm up here, I have a story to tell, and it's a journey going from, you know, no one showing up to a meeting to something like this. On the left here is a university student in the green shirt helping one of the neighbors in the community, and that's his mom and brother looking as they build one of the private plots for the garden. On the right there is a little girl that helped out at one of the work days, and that's Mayor Don Gerard of Champaign asking her what she likes most about the garden. On the left here, this is Day Day. Day Day's family used to live right next to our garden. He and his brother loved helping build our garden so much that they started requesting vegetables to be grown in our garden. Day Day's brother particularly liked tomatoes, so we started growing tomatoes. So wrap your head around that. These little kids, 8, 9 years old, are requesting vegetables to be grown. That was a little odd, but it reminded us that we were doing the right thing. On the right there, that's me explaining the concept of our garden to Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus. He liked our idea, so at the very least, I felt like I was doing something right. So I'll end with this quote. It's one of my favorites, though I'm not quite sure who said it, but everything works out in the end, and if it's not working out, then it's not the end. So failure happens, and whether you succeed or not is not going to be determined by how well you plan ahead or all the contingencies that you have lined up. No, I think that it really depends on how you're going to react when the time comes when you get a 2.98 after your first semester, or when nobody shows up to your community garden meeting. What's going to matter is what do you do after that. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. You all mic'd up? Okay, all right. This is Grace Sears. All right, my floor's yours.
Hi, I'm Grace Sears. I'm from the class of 2012. So a little bit about myself. These are some of the organizations that I was involved with during my time at U of I, the most notable being the Business International Exchange Network, which I helped to found in 2009. And now I live in Chicago. I work for Discover Financial Services on the e-business mobile team, and I'm also involved in a couple of entrepreneurial and not-for-profit organizations for young professionals in Chicago. So before I dive into my topic of mobile wallets, I wanted to start with mobile commerce. Mobile commerce can be anything that helps with the exchange of value on mobile devices, and this can be anything from mobile-optimized sites to mobile advertising and promotions to mobile wallets. And mobile wallets are a digital service that can be online, in-app, or both, that facilitate the transactions and payments through a device and offer e-commerce benefits. So there's 4 key features that will identify a digital service as a mobile wallet. The first is offers and coupons. Foursquare is a great app that pushes out real-time location-based alerts and allows customers to redeem the coupons at point of sale. Product information is another feature. Amazon Price Check is an app that allows customers to gain product information very quickly and then compare the price of that product at that store to the price of the same product at other retailers. Mobile payments is arguably the most prominent and glamorous aspect of mobile wallets, and ISIS is an example of a mobile payment app that facilitates in-store contactless payments through NFC technology. And loyalty and rewards is the last one. Starbucks is a great example of a merchant that has integrated their loyalty program in their app and allows customers to come into the store and earn, save, and redeem their rewards program points all in one app, and it's a great experience. So these are some of the most prominent competitors in the mobile wallet sphere. As you can see, there's a lot of different services that are offering a lot of different wallet features. There's still gaining traction in the customer base. So there's not one prominent wallet leader that has emerged yet, but I can tell you that some of the most prominent ones right now that are getting a lot of press and attention are ISIS, Google Wallet, and PayPal. So I explained to you what a mobile wallet is and who the competitors are, but why is this important? So I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in June, Apple announced that they were developing a mobile wallet of their own called Passbook. And this was released with the iOS 6 operating system in September. Within 24 hours, 15% of all iOS users had updated their operating system to iOS 6 and had access to Passbook. And within 9 days of the release of Passbook, over 83,000 Sephora card members and loyalty program members had updated their card into Passbook. So this really exemplifies how quickly consumer demand for mobile wallets is growing and how quickly mobile wallet adoption is growing and how important it is for companies and merchants to be prepared to mobile optimize their business strategy. So some of the opportunities that are out there for mobile wallets right now, smartphone adoption is growing exponentially. There's also a lot of new devices that are coming out with the equipment for contactless payments, and demand for mobile payments is growing. While demand among consumers for mobile payments is growing, there's also growing concern for security. There's a concern that there isn't a break in the current payment process, so there's really no incentive to switch from the traditional magnetic swipe technology to a mobile wallet technology. There's also no platform that has emerged as the primary platform for mobile payments, and there's a lot of competitors in the sphere, so nobody's really sure who they want to invest in and who they want to put their efforts towards. So while there's a lot of challenges facing mobile wallets, in my personal opinion, it has the potential to fundamentally change the consumer purchasing and decision-making process, and that's going to be very important for future business leaders such as yourselves to be aware of. So I've been in the real world for a couple of months now, working on the mobile team, and because it's a very fast-paced industry, I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned so far. And I know I don't have a lot of experience, but these are some things that might help you out. It's very important to educate yourself and stay informed. Definitely be sure to keep up on the news in your industry and read all of the headlines. Be concise and pointed in your communication. Try to condense your message into 1 or 2 sentences and always include a call to action. And lastly, Be flexible to switch your focus at any time. Be ready to dive into projects without a lot of guidance or information beforehand, and always have a lot of energy, optimism, and enthusiasm. So this is my contact information. I hope that I sparked your interest in mobile wallets, that I hope that you go out and do a little bit of research on your own. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and thank you for your attention.
Muff couldn't make it down either, so I don't trust my computer anymore with videos, so I'm going to quickly pull it up.
Hi guys, my name is Muffadal Saylawala, and I'm from the class of 2010, and I want to talk to you guys about doing something different. So to start off, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my story to give you some context and share a few thoughts or words of advice about life in college and beyond. So starting off with my story, when I came to college, I was on this fast track. The only thing I cared about was money. All I could think about was graduating in 2 years and how am I going to make the most money possible in the least amount of time. Luckily, while I was in college, I discovered this thing called travel, and I ended up extending my stay to 3 years and studied abroad 5 times and did 2 internships abroad. And this really changed my perspective on everything. I started thinking less about how to make money and more about how I can make an impact and make something better in the world. This experience of traveling, it really taught me a lot about myself and a lot about appreciating the reality of life in different parts of the world. So after I graduated, it was 2009, it was the peak of the financial crisis, and I took a job with PwC in their consumer finance group in this hybrid audit consulting group. They focus on companies in the mortgage banking and like credit card words. So it was a really interesting time to be in that industry and have a really interesting job. It was cool, it was fun, but at the end of the day it just wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I felt like I wasn't having an impact on the world. I felt like I wasn't using my skills in the best way possible. So I left that job a little over a year ago, and I've been working on couple of different entrepreneurial adventures. I started a photo blog called The Simple Good. That's all about appreciating small stuff in life and just slowing down. And the other idea I've been spending a lot of time on is called Buy Positively. And the idea there is this crowdsourced philanthropy for good businesses. So we're trying to fight society's addiction to mass consumerism and make it a little bit better. I'm also working on a lot of other random projects, some freelancing, still doing photography, and just all kinds of different things, trying to figure out what can I do? Like, what is the best use of my unique skills and experiences and perspectives to make a positive impact in the world? And I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know exactly where I'm headed or even what I'm doing right now. And it's probably all going to change tomorrow. But I'm really happy and I'm excited about having the freedom and willpower to do something that really matters, to do something a little bit different. And I'm really thankful for that. So with that, I want to offer you guys a couple of thoughts or words of advice. I've got 7 things here that I want to talk about. The first one is don't graduate early. Why trade a quarter of your college career for 1/40th of your working career? Trading 25% for 2.5% just doesn't make sense. Stay in college for 4 years. The second thing I want to say is go abroad. The best classroom in the world is the world. You will learn so much about yourself, about society, about business, about the way things come together, about communities, about interaction, and it's really amazing. There's so many great programs available through the College of Business, through U of I, internship opportunities with ISEC, you can get scholarships, and there's just a whole world of opportunities for you to go out there and explore and find yourself. And I really wish that I had done more of that. The third thing I want to say is go play with the engineers and the computer scientists. U of I has one of the best engineering and computer science programs in the world. There's some really talented people just across the quad that are going to invent something really gnarly, and they're going to need help selling it, or they're going to need help with finance and accounting. You guys can be there to help them out. I'm sure that many of you are going to come up with a lot of really cool ideas or applications, and you're going to need help building it. These are going to be the people that could really help you. These connections could be the most valuable connections you make in your career. But aside from all that business stuff, they're just interesting people. Like, it's a really, really cool experience to just be friends with people that are really different from you, that are thinking along a whole different line, that are doing something different. Yeah, and it's really enriching. The fifth thing I want to say is learn to program. We use technology all the time, every day, and it's becoming an even bigger part of our world and our businesses. Learn how it works just a little bit, even the most basic things. I'm not saying be fluent in all these different computer science languages, but knowing how to say hello and thank you really goes a long way. The sixth thing I want to say is that purpose is greater than profits. Entrepreneurship and business is the best tool we have to help solve social and environmental problems. Do work that really matters to you. Why settle for just a paycheck? Why settle for just money in the bank account? Why not do something that really matters? Why not do work that is going to change the world? Why not do something that is making things better? There's this huge revolution going on in social enterprise right now of business, using business economics, creating value in the marketplace, but at the same time doing good, fixing some kind of social environmental problem. This is going to be the new norm, and this is what's happening right now, and this is the best time to get involved with it. On that note, I want to say, don't work for a big company. You're so young, you have so much energy, you can do whatever you want to do. Why not take the most challenging role that you could take and learn a lot and really step out of your comfort zone? There's this thriving startup scene in Chicago happening right now, and it's easier now to connect than ever before, just through Meetup or emailing someone interesting that you find online, just asking them to coffee and finding out more about what they do. It's a really exciting time, and it's just a great opportunity to learn being in a small company. On that note also, don't shy away from a sales job. They're not lame. They're the essence of any business. If there's no sales, you have no business. You have nothing to analyze. You have nothing to audit. Sales comes first. If you've ever even had a thought or a glimmer about working for yourself, or if you've ever been interested in entrepreneurship, sales is the best way to learn. And finally, the last thing that I want to say and leave you guys with is look both ways before you cross the street. It'll save your life. Thanks, guys.
Hi, I'm Sam Liu, and my talk's called Happy Hacking. A little bit about me. I'm in the class of 2013, and I was a former business major, but I transferred out to computer science. And I wanted to be a technology entrepreneur, so I came into school kind of knowing what I wanted to do, but not really what major applied. Yeah. So a little bit about myself. Before I came to college, I actually worked out in California for a startup run by an 18-year-old boy and a 19-year-old girl who raised 1.6 mil. And I was exposed to startup life, and it's really different from pretty much anything you guys probably do at internships or whatever, because we were eating off $20 for a lunch budget for 5 people. So it was definitely a cool experience. But I was exposed out there to hackathons, which I will start explaining soon. And I met some really cool people, including Dave Weekley. He's the CEO of a company called PBWiki, and he holds these huge hack events at his house. He has a gigantic house, and we'd all go there and hack, and he'd provide internet and food. And it was there I also met a guy named Paul Tarjan. He was the former search head of Yahoo Search until they cannibalized their search and took and used Microsoft Bing, and then he moved over to Facebook. But he ran the university relations program, and he ran hack days at universities. So I would meet him again later when I came to Illinois. Sorry, I don't know how this works. Yeah. Is that working? Okay. Sorry. I don't use Windows. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Sorry. Is that working? I'm sorry. Okay, so I was kind of an undercover coder. I knew like what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure what major applied, and I called Dean Hedeman over that summer. I don't really remember the details of the conversation, but it went kind of along the lines of like, you know, just try things. I'm like, okay. So I come to school and I try some business classes, and that was 21 credit hours. First semester was, it was not actually hard. It was just, I realized, you know, I probably just wanted a single major. And I'm not really into suits, so like, so then I became an actual CS major, and I had some internships out, again in California, one in LA for an open source company called LifeRay. I got to live in the CEO's house, and he like showed me coding stuff and business stuff, and that was cool. And I worked at Mozilla, which is a nonprofit organization, and I did, you know, some development for them, and I, again, participated in a lot of hackathons. So Bay Area culture is a little different from probably the culture that most businesses in the world are used to. You know, business startup thinking is generally you come up with an idea and you hire some programmers to execute. But, you know, the programmer thinking is kind of like you come up with some talent to engineer anything. Like, people will fund programmers who don't even have an idea based on the fact that they just have merit. And, you know, where case competitions that we have here in the business school are about, you know, what ideas you can use to improve a company. Out in the Bay, we have hackathons where people create products in a span of 24 hours. Okay, so I know a little bit about hackathons because I've done a bunch of them. And I've won some on campus. This past summer, we won one for, there's a venture capital firm called Greylock. We were third place in their big hackathon. You actually had to apply to get into the hackathon because there were so many people who wanted to do it. And the vast majority of the kids in these programs were coming out of, you know, Stanford and Berkeley. And, you know, there were a few of us, just me and my two friends from Illinois, so represent. And so what's a hackathon? 24 hours, nonstop coding, and you only have like 2 to 4 minutes to present your work. And so sometimes you get tiered judging, which means you present to one judge and then you present to another judge, and then in the final round you present to like an all-star board of judges. Some people I've been presented in from include the guy who invented the Java programming language, and you know the CEO of LinkedIn, and the vice president of engineering at Facebook. And yeah, you drink a lot of caffeine because it's 24 hours, and you get teams of 2 to 4, but it's really hard to find 4 people who really pull their weight. So I found that the best number is actually 2. This summer we tried 3. It worked pretty well. You're allowed to plan, but you're not allowed to code ahead of time. And a good strategy is to learn some really difficult technology to really wow people. So cool things I made: a multiplayer dance game. It's kind of like Just Dance for Wii, but it uses your browser and multiple people can play on their computers. I made a game to teach kids to read and write by recognizing that they were drawing letters with their finger, and it would like say a word after you've spelled like cat. It would like say cat and show a picture. I actually made a Siri-like voice interface before Siri came out. So that summer at LinkedIn in 2011, there was a hackathon, and we made this thing where you would be like, who is Lord Voldemort? And the computer would be like, Lord Voldemort is the Dark Lord, and show you a picture. And we were finalists, but we didn't win. So, yeah, and Siri came out. Right, and then we made an iClicker clone using text messages. So that's what the iClicker, thing looked like. And again, I had to design the interface. We had to like write the back end. It's a lot of work. Oh shoot, sorry. Backspace? No, that worked. Okay. Click. Okay. And that's me and my friends presenting the game to teach kids to read and write at LinkedIn. This was this summer, and we were finalists. And here's something I did at something called Angel Hack.
What we see here is an HTML5 JavaScript Pokemon game. The character's moving around doing his thing, but you notice we're actually not controlling him with the keyboard. We're not controlling this character with the mouse. So how are we doing it?
So we're using a draft spec called WebRTC in the browser. And this is an HTML5 technology that allows us to send pictures to the back end, which we wrote in OpenCV. And you can see that I can just use gestures to control this guy. So I'm going to show you a little bit how this works. And it basically looks at me and looks at the red, and it knows what direction I'm going in. So, and it uses like doing some fancy math, and you can see that it's pretty good at figuring out where we are. And we can send this information to an app. And this is an online interactive book, and I can flip the pages by giving it a gesture. Right. And another application would be a racing game, where you can turn the card by giving a gesture right or left, and it works pretty well. So there's a lot of applications to WebRTC, and it opens up a whole new way to interact with web apps. And we hope that this serves as an introduction to the power of WebRTC. So that was one of the hack days. It was actually conducted like nationally. So there were people in New York and Seattle and San Francisco all coding at the same time. We made top 30. And that was just like an experiment to like see if we could use this thing called computer vision to like let the computer see what we're doing. And we used that to make the dance game, which was from this. I can't show you the video because it's too long, but you can YouTube later. So business school definitely helped me in this whole like journey that I had. I learned a lot of soft skills. Believe it or not, like that etiquette dinner was gold for me because I grew up eating with like chopsticks. So when I discovered salad forks, I was like, you need another fork for your salad? Come on. Yeah, case competition was really cool because I realized that, business school also, has an analog to, hackathons. That's really cool. And I learned how to wear a suit, kind of. I'm not even wearing a shirt. And, the resume critiques are really helpful. And for my job shadow, I actually followed around a CEO of a consulting company for web dev. And he taught me a lot about running, his technology business. And, I learned a lot in that respect. So, networking. I learned a lot about networking, and that was really good because, if it's not about sockets and, election protocols, programmers don't like networking. It's difficult. And I definitely learned a lot of optimism, energy, and enthusiasm. And they're not just general good qualities. They're also really good qualities for getting, companies to want you to work at their company because they're like, wow, you're really excited about, stuff. So, yeah, I don't know, I didn't start any, big organizations or anything, but definitely I've met a lot of people like freshman me who weren't really sure what they were doing, and, I have to say I'd actually talked a couple kids out of, being in business school, and they moved over to CS. Sorry. But, yeah, because, it's ultimately about what you want to do and what path you're taking, and, the path I'm taking is much different from the path that most of you guys are on. But I definitely tried to represent our university at different competitions, and I got involved in the local startup community here, which is very good, and there's a tight-knit group of pretty serious programmers. Real business is really cool. It's just not my primary passion. Like that last guy, you guys can play with me. I'm an engineer. The business world is a lot different from Silicon Valley, but you guys really helped around who I am, so thanks for that. And I love y'all. So that's it.
All right. Next up is Dan Klebanov. Dan's a 16, the only freshman presenting today on a project he did in high school.
Cool. Hello. I've actually never spoken into a mic before. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Klebanov, and I am a 16 in the College of Business Honors Program. And for the next several minutes, I will discuss with you an initiative called Edufund that I launched in October of 2010. And essentially, it was a big part of my high school career, and I hope to continue efforts pertaining to Edufund here at the College of Business. Before I actually begin to discuss Edufund and what it seeks to do, I'd like to first brief all of you on the current status of public education financing. Now, although education is not a guaranteed right under the federal Constitution, it is provided by the Illinois Constitution, although the government has not effectively imposed the regulations that it sets in this Constitution. Now, in the Constitution, it states that the state has the primary responsibility for financing the system of public education. But when we look to the breakdown of state funding, we can see that the state of Illinois provides a mere 33% of state funding. And instead, the state of Illinois is over-reliant on local property taxes to fund schools. Now, the inherent problem with that is that if you reside in a district with high property tax bases, you'll be afforded a quality education. Whereas if you are in a school in a low property tax base district, you will not have the same criteria for your education. And therefore, Edufund sought to eliminate this disparity between the gap between the rich and the poor. Now, my school district of Stevenson High School spends about $14,000 per pupil, whereas a district just 30 minutes outside of the school district spends 75% less. And although we're only 30 minutes away, the disparity between the gap between the rich and the poor is immense. And Illinois actually ranks last in the nation according to state financing for education. And with that said, I introduce to you Edufund. Now, what Edufund seeks to do is it seeks to partner donor businesses with schools in need. And it does so under its 501c3 status, which means that all taxes are deductible, and it's in the best interest for the business to donate to us, because then they have a tax cut when they do their corporate taxes in the fiscal year. And over the course of the year, however, in our trial year, we found that this didn't really fix the problem. We were simply throwing money at it, and it wasn't a tangible solution. And although we proved successful in that we raised a lot of money, we were kind of providing these donations to students without a face to the donation. And so the following summer, Edufund partnered with United Way of Lake County, and in doing so, we provided at least a tad bit more of tangible support. And what we did was we raised 5,000 books to be redistributed to children of low-income families. We thought that this was a great step forward for Edufund, but it still didn't necessarily meet the personal connection that we wanted Edufund to facilitate. So during my senior year in the spring, we launched this marathon called Class to Class. Class to Class was all about bringing students together. Essentially, we didn't want to provide donations without a face to the donation. And in doing so, we raised more than $5,000, but more importantly, we served as mentors to these elementary school students that had never seen a quality education before. And instead of just raising money on our front, we raised money, but for a specific purpose on the other end. And what that means is, so a classroom, for example, in inner city Chicago, stated that they want to attend a field trip to the Chicago Field Museum. We would approve of that project, and then we would raise sufficient funds to be allocated specifically to that activity. And therefore, we see the transparency and how the money is actually being used. And Class to Class proved very successful. We actually donated to one school, which is just outside of Urbana-Champaign in Decatur, called Garfield Montessori School. And the point is that just like the Honors College seeks to do, it seeks to employ the chain mentoring reaction in which students basically rely on each other for support. And that's simply what Edufund stands to do. We are students helping students, just like we all are here under this roof, seeking each other's support for our personal endeavors. And so, like I just said, essentially, Edufund helps children by providing them the necessary resources they need to succeed. And just like we are right here, we are all astute students under one roof, and the purpose is for us to learn from each other and to learn from each other's experiences. And just like we provided Edufund to students that had inadequate educations, here we are here to learn from each other so that we can benefit each other and ourselves. And with that said, I hope at least some of you guys meet someone new tonight that you guys can rely on support for, and maybe meet another person that you can maybe help out. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Angela Randle. Angela's an alum that graciously decided to come down for the conference, and she will be talking about networking.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. My name is Angela Randle. Like he mentioned, I'm in 09, 010 with my master's. And basically, I know you guys hear a lot about networking a lot, you know. It's very key within the honors program, but I did just kind of want to give you guys a couple of really good tips that I've learned since I've been out in the professional world, and just kind of to help you guys along as you guys are about to enter on to that next phase of your lives and your careers. Now, if you're like me, Dean Hedman freshman year wanted everybody to go to the career fair, and I was terribly shy, so that was incredibly intimidating. But one thing that you just always want to remember is everybody is a person. So as for you guys right now, definitely utilize everyone in your class and in the other alum classes. And, you know, we're all kind of a big family in the honors program. It's what makes the College of Business smaller and makes it feel like home. So, you know, never feel afraid to reach out to a classmate or to anyone else in the honors program where you guys are now if you have a question or, you know, just kind of want some advice or anything like that. When you guys are interviewing and, you know, trying to go out for those different positions, one thing you want to keep in mind is to don't limit yourself to who you talk to. So you may have a person who is, like me, extremely shy, and, you know, the thought of going up to, you know, a manager or a partner of a big firm is really scary. And so you kind of tend to just talk to maybe a first or second year staff at different events. Which is great, but don't limit yourself, because a lot of the people at those firms, when they go to events like that, they want to talk to you, they want to meet you. So don't let being shy or being timid stand in the way of your making a really great connection that could, you know, possibly propel your future. Like they said, you know, it could be your rocket. So always take advantage of all of the connections and opportunities that you have to talk to different people. On the flip side, don't only reach out to those that you feel may be able to get you in the door, like a manager or partner type person. Believe it or not, a lot of, you know, first, second year staff actually have a lot of input in hiring decisions. When I first started out, you know, I got to go to a lot of recruiting events. I started my career with Deloitte in Miami, and we held candidates down all over, from all over, and the recruiters always asked all of us, you know, what did you think of this candidate? How were they? Do you think they'd be a good fit with the team? So don't just talk to, you know, the partner and try to impress him with your knowledge of, you know, what different groups the company offers or what service lines they have. But, you know, make the rounds, talk to as many people as you can. Trust me, no one will ever think that you are too excited or, you know, too overconfident in going up and starting a conversation with anybody that's there. Another tip that I have is to keep in touch with different colleagues. Like if you go for a Big Four, for example, you will have colleagues in offices all around the world. And you may be sent to some different clients in different locations. Keep in touch with those people as you go around, because you never know who can help you in your career. You know, within the company or without. So just always make sure that you guys are not just starting relationships, but continue to build on them and help them grow. Likewise, for people who may leave the company that you're at. I know I personally got the job I have now. I recently left Deloitte and I'm with SCNO. And I heard about my current job from a former colleague who was also at Deloitte. And so she knew that I had started looking and, you know, was kind of ready to make a change. And she reached out and, you know, we kind of got in contact. She put me in touch with the right people. And so my network definitely helped me. You know, it helped kind of make a smooth transition from one phase of my life to the next. And because she was in a different office, different service line, if I didn't make the effort to build that relationship, then that would have been a missed opportunity for me. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, you know, everyone is a person. So when you go to events or you meet someone, don't necessarily feel like you have to talk business or accounting. You know, talk about sports, talk about things that interest you. What's really going to be important is letting your personality come through when you network, because that's the most important thing, you know, trying to see if your personality fits with the culture of that company and vice versa, and if that's somewhere that you really want to be, because like I said, you're going to be working for a pretty substantial amount of your life, so at least trying to make those years enjoyable while you're in whichever career or job or company you're at is really going to be important, and the people that you work with are going to be huge. And so I just want to leave you guys with a quote that one of my friends always told me that really made me think and kind of steered towards, you know, being more confident and getting out of my shyness was your network determines your net worth. So just always be cognizant of, you know, who you have surrounding you, and make sure that you have the right team of people to build you up in your career and not necessarily drag you down. Thanks.
Can I introduce you first?
Sorry.
So now, the man that we've all been waiting for,
Oh, where is he?
or Billy's been waiting for, is Billy Tabrizi.
That's true. Thank you, Steve. Whatever. Hi, everyone. I'm Billy Tabrizi. So I will be talking today about negotiation. My first two topics were rejected. The first was how to brown nose in the College of Business, and the second was my never-ending mission to be in every college photo. So number 3 is negotiation. Today is really about what happens when somebody tells you no and how to keep going. Think of this more as life advice beyond just negotiating. So if you take this really to the next level, there's some pretty neat applications. So a lot of this is from Professor Gonzalez. I'm sure many, if not all of you, know her, and so anything that's really academic and intelligent, attribute to her. So negotiators who ask questions and listen are more effective. That's what everybody says. So you might be wondering, what am I doing up here talking about listening? I'm going to focus on the ask questions part, because that I do a little bit better. So this is the main slide that's your takeaway today. There's two things everybody has in life. You have your position, and then you have your core interest. The easy thing that we all do is talk about the position. What I'm trying to share with you today is how to get at your interests. So you can see up there what it says. Your position is what you want. Your interest is why you want it. So think about a small, oversimplified example. You go up to your mom or dad when you're 15 and you say, Mom, I need $10. Mom says, no, I don't give you money like that anymore. What is your core interest? Well, you actually need $10 to go see a movie and hang out with your friends. Right? So you have a few different opportunities for Mom. What you don't know, if you would ask the right way, is that Mom actually has a $10 AMC gift card sitting at the bottom of her closet that she's been trying to get rid of for 6 months. And then if you had better asked your question, you'd be getting what you want in a better way. Oversimplified, we'll expand. So, why am I staring at a flower? A flower starts out what? Very closed. You can see the outside. You think you understand what's happening. But with the right environment, with the right questions, with the right everything, you can really open it up and see there's some pretty cool stuff happening inside. And without seeing that stuff, you never would have understood what's happening with the actual flower. So today we're going to teach you how to open a flower. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. So 2 little cases that we can go through. The first one is somebody sitting there and they says, we can't offer you more than $50,000. Some of us, if not all of us, have been in this position where you're not getting enough money. There's a couple things you need to examine. One is, why do you need the money? And 2 is, why is the company telling you no? What you might not know about the company, but through the right questions find out, is that national policy actually prohibits anyone earning more than $50,000 out the door. It's set nationally, and nobody, not even the highest partners, are allowed to disrupt it because it's just this HR mess. Why do you need the extra $5,000 from your offer that you're asking for? Well, maybe you owe your brother $5,000 from a college loan. Maybe you need to get a jump start on paying back your college loans. Maybe you have massive relocation you need to do. Maybe you need some money to be able to get a business wardrobe to really be set when you start. So if you go up to HR with those issues, you might get a better response. Companies have tons of resources, especially the bigger ones that a lot of us end up at. There's relocation services, there's financing options, there's loans, there's signing bonuses. Those are all things that address your core need of getting $5,000 without actually getting the raise that's what you need. I need the $55,000 to be able to operate. So it's just changing your perspective. Negotiating is all about the other person's perspective and getting at the heart of their interests and understanding your own. You can never be a successful negotiator without understanding what the other party wants. And that really applies in life too. If you meet somebody else's interests, they're more likely to come towards your point of view. So think of another example. I can't give you that promotion. Why? Well, because actually nationally, we're in the middle of a recession, whatever the time might be, there's only 3 people in the office getting promoted and you were number 6. So you're really upset you didn't get this promotion. You're ready to leave. The company's passed you up. You've done all this great work, right? The organization you're in just passed you up. You're not allowed to be whatever next level position you want it to be. Why do you actually want the promotion? Is it that title? Is it pride? Is it responsibilities? Is it tasks? Is it the opportunity to meet some new people that you really need to continue advancing? If you think about that as your core interest rather than your position, you're going to have a lot more opportunities. That's when you start asking questions like, geez, well, can I take on task X, Y, or Z that really gets me what I want? Do you have an opportunity to connect me with so-and-so, which might open some new doors? If you think about all your problems that you're facing in life like that, you have a different perspective, and you're not stuck at, give me the $5,000. I need the promotion to continue. What you actually are asking for is some of the other things that are there. So how do you do that? Some of my friends probably will see some of my famous buzzwords on here. A lot of these have been successfully used with AT&T and Comcast, my primary negotiating counterpoints. You'd be amazed at what you can find out by asking the mailman about how his life is going. People have really cool stories, and the people you least expect are able to help you are oftentimes the most equipped to be able to help you and to get you out of the jam. So take that as your life advice point. It's worth talking to everybody and getting to know everybody's story because, not just because everyone can help you, because they can, it's also really interesting and you'll learn a lot of stuff. A little more on the negotiation side. Ask why, ask how, say you're confused. A lot of times when you're negotiating or somebody disagrees, your first instinct is to say something that puts that person on the defense, right? Because they are forced to tell you no. Give them another way to explain themselves without having to tell you no, and you're opening up a whole new door of opportunities. That bottom one is really interesting. Do you have the authority? A lot of times you're fighting with the wrong person. You're negotiating with somebody who literally cannot do anything, right? The person you're calling at the other end of HR, they can't authorize it. But if you get in touch with the right person, you might have the better opportunity. When I needed $50 off a Mac to be able to purchase it, the guy at Apple kept saying, no, I can't do it. We don't do that here at Apple. I said, let me ask you something. Do you have the authority to take $50 off this price? He said, yes. That changed the whole conversation because Apple was no longer rejecting me. He was. Within 3 minutes, there was a $50 price reduction. It's cool stuff. So this is the last thing. It's the same slide I showed a couple slides ago. Really think about this. Every time you're having a discussion with somebody, think about their interests. When you go up to your professor and you say, I need an A, I am almost getting a 4.0 this semester. Is your professor's core interest in their entire life you getting a 4.0? It's nowhere close. Their professors does have an interest in making sure their exams are fairly representative of the material that was covered and making sure that you're earning the points that you feel you earned and making sure every question is fairly assessed. If you open your conversation towards that goal and realize your interest there is just getting a couple more points, which gets you an A, you're looking at a different set of conversations. It opens the door to creative solutions and really is a neat way to operate through life. So it's not all about you, it's about everybody else around you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, next is Brad Graham. Brad has good news to share. I'm going to let him do that instead of me. Do you want to come up here and share your good news?
All right. Well, I told Dean Hedman, and actually I thought it was the best place to celebrate. I got engaged last night, and my new fiance is sitting in the porch right there. All right, so I also have a Prezi, but I've never hacked anything, so it won't be as interesting. A little background on me. My family has pretty deep-seated roots in the honors program. My sister is a 9, my brother-in-law is a 10, and I'll check with Dean Hedman on this. I think they're the first and only all-honors wedding, so we have that. I also work at Discover Financial Services, as Grace spoke about previously. Before I went there on campus, I was involved in my social fraternity. I was vice president. I managed a few of the establishments on campus, or bars. And I was involved in business council and a few other academic ventures there. I double majored in marketing and business process management, and when I was looking for a career path, I really wanted something to join those educational backgrounds and really passions of mine. And when I interviewed with Discover, it's a rotational program, so they were definitely able to cater more to that general and really zoom in on what I was interested in. So in terms of the rotational program, Grace is currently in her first one dealing with the Discover mobile networks, and I've been in 3 thus far. The first one dealt with payment protection and working on Discover products. So mainly my role there was going to different Discover national call centers, implementing new, approved, and better sales practices. My second one was a brand and marketing role, mainly dealing with other banks and different relationships that Discover had, kind of a consulting role. And my last role brought back that business process management standpoint, and it's called marketing business controls. So there I do internal audit of all of our marketing process, look in, try to mitigate future risks with new projects coming through, as well as analyzing our past projects to make sure that we're not making the same mistakes over and over. So in terms of branding, I think the best way to, all right. Oh, there we go. All right, the best way to start talking about branding is to introduce a few of the brands that I've personally worked with. In the brand management and marketing role, I worked with Sam's Club, Walmart, Ducks Unlimited, GE Capital Retail Bank, as well as managed some of our relationships with the NHL and Six Flags. So in that role, we'd get a request from Walmart saying, we like your relationship with Flags. We think it's something relevant that we can give to our customers. So they would send in a request. I would speak to Six Flags, outline what promotion would be available for a Walmart account, work with a creative agency to develop the marketing collateral, and eventually push it out the door to Walmart. The one that I'm most excited about right now is the Discover relationship with the BCS National Championship game. So talking about taking on additional responsibilities, I was able to apply and I was selected. I'm one of 5 people to be running the pregame tailgate for Discover. So our card members are invited to a tailgate before the game, and I'm able to attend the game and actually the pre-night and view the halftime show and everything the night before. So very excited about that. So in terms of how Business Honors relates to this, there are 3 main areas where Business Honors help lay out a ground and a great breadth of business knowledge. The first one, of course, energy, optimism, and enthusiasm. So I always understood how it could help you fostering your own personal relationships, making connections with people, but I never understood how much of an impact it could actually make on a business. So working with Walmart, every time we worked with them, we would ask for feedback. We gave them 40 different areas where they could rate our team. And then after a year of working with them, we ran a regression analysis on the data. And after that had been extrapolated to the best of our ability, the highest correlation with success was our team's can-do attitude. So that was self-reported by Walmart, showing that our attitude going into the project directly related to the results. Come on. All right, the second one is building that professional network. Before Business 101 came about, there was no requirement for people to have those job shadow opportunities. So Dean Hedman really pushed our group to participate in those. My first job shadow was with Discover Financial Services. I didn't end up interning there, but I ended up landing a final job there because I kept working on that network. I met with one person that I really connected with, sent her an email every semester, giving her an update on what I've been doing, maybe asking some advice, talking about her industry a little bit. And without putting that additional effort in and getting that guidance and going to those job shadow opportunities, I really believe that I wouldn't be in the place where I am today. And then the other one is the impactful experience. Of course, the most impactful experience for a lot of people is that international trip. My group also went to Turkey. It was some of the best 2 weeks of my life. It was absolutely outstanding seeing the international relations, the entrepreneurial people there. But even more of an impact for me was working with my honors group. Just those daily interactions, what we're talking about, what we've been taking in class, what interests have been coming up, and really arguing and going back and forth, I think was the most constructive and impactful on me. And also noticing how competitive the marketplace is going to be for those jobs at the end of the day, with people looking for the exact same things. So after Business Honors outlined everything and gave me that great breadth of business knowledge, I realized it's now my job to communicate that. And now I'm going to talk about a little bit of recruiting because I've had that experience now coming back on campus, this campus, other campuses in the Big Ten, and what can really differentiate people. And that's how they can communicate their brand. The first aspect of this that I look for as a recruiter is awareness. Not only awareness about my company, our vision, who our partners are, but awareness of how you can really fit in the organization and how you can deliver value. That really sets someone apart during those recruiting and interview conversations. The second one is authenticity. And that goes to what Dean Hedman has always talked about, energy, optimism, and enthusiasm, but also having that 1-minute speech, something about you that sets you apart, because those are really the things that the recruiters are going to notice and remember. It's not the club that you are in, it's that one connection you can make with them. Maybe it's something that you both relate to. It could be sports, it could be a club that you're in, but not that it's on your resume, but what you learned from it, how you can apply it, and how it really changed you as a person. And the third aspect here are your associations. So in terms of Discover, everything we push out the door, we really want it associated with 3 main things. We want our brand to be friendly, helpful, and refreshing. So one thing that I would suggest outlining when you go and you start your job search, you're starting to be recruited, maybe you want to outline 3 main things that you want to be associated with your brand. Start looking at the groups that you're in. Are they representing those 3 things? How can I show these 3 things in the way that I'm talking to this recruiter? And really, how do I keep those conversations going at the end of the day? So Business Honors is definitely going to outline that business base, but if you can communicate, and especially communicate these 3 brand aspects, it's definitely going to deliver a significant competitive advantage compared to any other person going for that job. So that's all I have. If you want to get in contact with me, here's my information. Feel free to reach out, and I'll definitely keep in contact with you. Thanks.
All right, we've come to our last student presentation. This is David Perez, talking about a global mindset.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Okay, last one, hang in there. I'll be done pretty soon. Okay. How do you click? Okay. Okay, so before I begin, I want to give a quick shout out to Dean Hedman. I don't know how many of you checked out the Daily Illini, but one of our fellow 13s called Dean Hedman as the Dumbledore of the honors program. And the Daily Illini put that, it meant that he was very wise and well-respected. Lindsay, thank you for that quote. My little cousins are convinced that I'm part of Hogwarts and that when I go abroad, I'm actually going there. So there you go. So I'm going to talk a little bit about 21st century leadership. Before I begin, I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am and what I've done. So there's 2 aspects to me, what I've done professionally and what I've done here at school. So it's Halloween now, and I was kind of thinking, what should I be for Halloween? And one of my friends said, you should be Waldo, David, because you're never here. We can't find you. What I did was I took a year off, not a year off, but I studied abroad for a year, a semester in Brazil and a semester in China, 2 countries that I felt were really important to where the world was going. Professionally, I worked at Google at California. I was with Sam, although Sam didn't call me for a free Google lunch, wherever Sam was. And I did economic research with Dr. Warner Bear last summer in Brazil. And just to show how your life can really change this fast, about half an hour ago, I got an email from the White House for an internship next semester. So 4 teams, I'm probably going to be graduating with you. So a little bit about 21st century leadership. Okay. So the big question is, does leadership change over time? Is it something that's always consistent, or is it something that's changing? Marshall Goldstein, he works for Fortune 500 executives, and he studied a lot of their quality traits and seeing whether leadership was something static or something dynamic. So how is the leader of the future different from the leader of the past? Well, the leader of the past included people like Gandhi, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. And what qualities about these people, have always been consistent? They've had vision, they've had integrity, They have communication skills, character, passion, courage, and of course, energy, optimism, and enthusiasm. But the world is constantly changing, and we should ask ourselves, and so is leadership. So today I'm going to talk about 3 new traits of the new leader. The first one is, a leader of the 21st century is a global thinker. We started off in the 1800s where we worked in the regional basis as farmers, our country. Then in the 1900s we moved more towards manufacturing, but still producing domestically. Now in modern America, our cars are made in Japan. Dean Hedemann's favorite beer is made in Germany. Our technology is Korean. Our oil is from Saudi Arabia, and everything else seems to be made in China. So leaders of the past were domestically oriented, but leaders of the future are globally competent. Hence why it kind of disappeared for a year. So action number 1. So how can you take that trait and create that into an action? So I would highly recommend that you download Pimsleur. Pimsleur is a program that teaches you the basics of a language in 90 days. I did this with Mandarin Chinese and Portuguese. And then after that, I would leverage the fact that we have so many great international students on campus and try to speak to them. So when I was learning Mandarin Chinese, I would trade in my IT meals for Chinese lessons from Chinese students. And I ended up making a lot of great relationships and picking up some pretty good Mandarin. Bonus, if you can focus on one of the emerging markets, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. So action number 2, a leader of the 21st century works well with diversity. So the leadership in the past included concentrated by white males like Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and my favorite, Dr. Evil. The leaders of now include women, include young individuals, and include minorities. They also include people with different perspectives. So how can we leverage that as business students? So as business majors, we can finance things. We can account for things very, very well. We can market things. But who are the ones building things on campus? I would go back to Sam Liu and says that our ability to better work with diversity enhances our creativity and results. I would recommend that you spend a little time north of Green Street, which is where our engineering campus is, and hang out with engineers, join a club with the engineers, kind of get into their mindset of how they think and try to create something with them. A leader, and the third step, a leader of the 21st century shares leadership. So leadership in the past included having someone that was very knowledgeable, managing people that were less knowledgeable. However, that dynamic has changed. Now you're managing people who are even more knowledgeable than you. And so what kind of leadership traits does that bring? I would recommend that all of you check out the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's a book that really teaches you how to listen and how to work well with people to get what you want to do and push out your agenda. So now what, David? What does this mean? So the Spider-Man movie says, with great power comes great responsibility. It's cliche, I know, but I put a spin on it. Our very own DH is challenging you in that. And here's my great challenge. So there is something that links our school. Oracle, Netscape, Firefox, YouTube, Delta, PayPal, BET, the NFL, AMD, Mortal Kombat, the Nobel laureates, Pulitzer Prize winners, the President of Ecuador, and one of our most famous alumni, Hugh Hefner. What that links is the companies that were started by Illinois alumni. These are people that went to school and went on to do great things, really took the whole essence of entrepreneurship. And so, as Illini, we are innovative, we are visionaries, we are leaders, and most importantly, we are Illini. Get excited about that. It's a very, very exciting thing. And so, a video that I want to leave you with is one that I watched my freshman year, and it really directed the whole way I saw my college experience. And I hope that it could touch you in doing things a little bit different.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Different. Before I wrap up, I want to say thank you, Dean Hederman and Ann Hederman, for coming and being with us. Thank you, Steve Heiss. You've been one of my best friends here at the U of I, and thank you for putting this all together, and thank you for letting me submit my presentation 20 minutes before the presentation. And I want to pose that challenge to the people in this room to really go out there and really change the world, really be the people who are going to be, in 20, 30 years from now in their presentations. Thank you, guys. It's an honor.